Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another weekly wrap-up. This is week number 4 of 2020, and in this video, I'm going to talk about Wild Seed by Octavia Butler and the Mythic Dream anthology edited by Dominic Parazian and Nava Wolf. So let's talk about first Wild Seed by Octavia Butler. I read this during my Martin Luther King Junior readathon that I did. Had a great time doing that. Thank you to all those that showed up. Wild Seed is the first book chronologically in the Pattern Master series by Octavia E. Butler. In this series, a race of powerful humans with special abilities all come from the same two individuals. One, a man that can jump into the body of others and continue to live indefinitely through the bodies of others. And then 2, a woman that can stay young, heal herself, get pregnant with ease, and heal others. Wild Seed, though, the third book in the series written in publication order, is the first book chronologically. So that's why I decided to read this one first. So it starts in the late 1600s in Africa with 2 black main characters. It features a demigod-like man, his name is Doro, who can jump consciousnesses from different people. It also features a woman named Anyanwu. And Anyanwu, she can heal herself and others, and she can even shapeshift, and she is centuries old. Though the characters can actually die, it is best to think of these characters as immortal to understand their reasoning and their decisions. Doro is creating these seed villages where he fathers, usually by force and threat, offspring that has special powers. He's looking for individuals that have special abilities like telekinesis or mind control. When Doro meets Anyanwu, he sees her as the ultimate potential mate and the ability to create an entire race of special ability humans. And Yanwu sees Doro as being a person that can easily kill her, take over her body, but also a way of her to not be lonely any longer. In fact, both characters kind of see each other as someone that might never leave them because they can both grow old together and the other one won't die. Doro's actions, though, are threatening, and Yanwu is threatened, but she still wants to see where this goes, and she ends up going to the New World, New York, with Doro. Both Doro and Yanwu can look basically like whatever they want and whoever they want. And that makes this story very interesting. And this story is quite a long story that spans over 200 plus years. So I had no clue where this story was going to go at the beginning. It ended up turning into this weird cult-like story about breeding superhumans. And Yanwu was trapped into this life by coercion and threats from Doro. And Yanwu puts up resistance against him, but she is unable to break totally away from him because of the long life that both of them live. She may get away from him for decades, but he always finds her. It's this terrible story about being trapped in a relationship that is toxic, that she knows is hurting her, but because of her immortality and her children, she keeps finding herself having to deal with Doro. It is easy as a reader to judge Yanwu for staying with Doro, but it is a very complicated issue, and I think this story speaks to women that are trapped in abusive relationships. Yes, it's easy for us to say that they should just leave the relationship, but it is so much more complicated than that, especially when there are children involved. Sometimes the woman has to depend solely on the man for survivability, for money, and the thought of running away with her children is a terrifying thought. How is she going to support those children? What is she going to do? Butler taps into this type of relationship in this book, in Wild Seed, It gives the reader a very complicated relationship that will infuriate any reader reading it. However, it is still fantastic. There are so many themes in this story. Each person will get something different out of this. And it helped me just appreciate and understand the story on a larger scale by reading this in one huge chunk. I feel like if I would have read this throughout a whole week, that I wouldn't have gotten into it as much. So I was going to read Mind of My Mind next, but honestly, this story was really heavy, and I needed a break from heavy. So I'll read Mind of My Mind maybe next week. So the second thing I want to talk about is the Mythic Dream. This is an anthology reimagining classic myths. This anthology has a killer lineup of writers. Let me just tell you some of the amazing writers in this. There is Shannon McGuire. She's reimagining Hades and Persephone. Anne Leckie. She is writing about Hathor and the destruction of mankind. T. Kingfisher. She's writing the labors of Hercules. Rebecca Rowanhorse, Deer Hunter and White Corn Maiden. J.Y. Yang, they are writing The Cowherd and the Weaver Girl. Arcady Martin is writing about Inanna Takes Command of Heaven / Inanna and Enki. Sarah Gailey is writing about Thetis. Carlos Hernandez is writing about El Coco. Stephen Graham Jones about Lycaon. Kat Howard, The Children of Lear. Leah Cyprus, The Legend of Akdemat. The Legend of Rabbi Meir and the Sabiaton. Jeffrey Ford in Sisyphus. Indrapramit Das is writing about Kali. Alyssa Wong is writing about Artemis and Actaeon. John Chu is writing about Idun and her golden apples. Naomi Novik is writing about Ariadne and the Minotaur. Carmen Maria Machado is writing about Eriskathon. I'm horrible at pronouncing some of these. And then finally, Amal El Mutar is writing about Budued. So, a lot of these I was not familiar with before reading this. And I think that took away some of my enjoyment of these myths. Each writer is reimagining a classic myth, and what is nice is that the contents of the book actually tells you which myth they are reimagining, which I just read. Also, after each short story, the author has a small explanation why they chose that specific story and what it meant to them. I thought that was a very nice added touch that I really enjoyed, and it added a lot to this anthology. But I do feel that your enjoyment of this anthology will be how familiar you are with those classic myths. Or basically, how long ago did you take mythology? It's been a long time since I took mythology. If you really want to enjoy this book, you might want to refresh yourself on these myths before you read it. But that's a huge time commitment. So I'm going to tell you my favorite stories from here. The first one was Sean McGuire's story, and that was Phantoms of the Midway. This is about a girl that has never been outside the carnival until she meets a ghost in a field. Okay? The next one I liked was the Rebecca Rowanhorse story. It's called A Brief Lesson in Native American Astronomy. A movie star loses his true love, but uses technology to inject himself with her thoughts and her being, but things go really badly wrong. J.Y. Yang wrote Bridge of Crows. This is a Chinese folktale retelling of a woman on a quest to find answers. I like that one. Probably my favorite story in this, and a favorite of a lot of people, was the Indra Pramet Das story, Kali _Na. This is it's like an Indian version kind of Ready Player One with Kali, the virtual goddess, and basically the undesirables in Indian culture and how they like rise up and take over. And I thought that was a really interesting story. Then Alyssa Wong writes a story called Livestream. This is basically a revenge story on a man that shares a private picture that he took with a woman and her revenge on him. So that one didn't have much speculative element to it, but it's Alyssa Wong. It was written really well, and it was very emotional. I really liked that a lot. John Chu writes Close Enough for Jazz. Basically, being able to change your appearance at will by eating an apple, like a technological apple. And then the last one that I really liked was Amal El-Mutar's story, Foriglia, or Some Lies About Flowers. And this was about a woman that was created from a flower to serve her husband, but she wants a different life. Now, I enjoyed all of those stories. They were all like a 4-star or a 3.5-star read. But there were some 2-star reads in this anthology. And overall, I do think it was a good anthology, but I was expecting a little bit more, to be honest. But it was good. I enjoyed it. So check that out if you're interested in more of these amazing Saga anthologies. Saga Press anthologies. Alright, so what am I going to read next week? Next week, I'm going to get KJ Parker's newest novella, Prosper's Demon. I should be getting this in the mail maybe on like Thursday or Friday, so hopefully I can read that before next week's wrap up. I'm also currently almost at the end of Half a War by Joe Abercrombie. This is the last book in his Shattered Seed trilogy that is more of a YA bent to it, and I'm enjoying this last book. I wanted to finish this before my wrap up, but I didn't quite get to it. I ended up playing around with Google Calendar a lot this morning. And then if I have time, I'd like to make some more work on Mind of My Mind by Octavia Butler from the Pattern Master series. Okay? This coming week, I'm going to be doing some live streams. I'm going to try to use my live streams as a way to hold myself accountable with studying. So basically, you can join. If you're in school still, you can study with me. Or if you're not in school, you can do like reading sprints with me. So that will be this coming week. The schedule is tentatively Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday between 7 and 10 at night on Eastern time. So if you're around and you want to get some reading done or you want to get some homework done, join me in those times. I'm probably going to do a 50-10 Pomodoro split, 50 minutes of work followed by 10-minute break, and do that for those 3 hours. Okay? So if that's something that would interest you, join me during the week. Okay? I hope everyone has an amazing week. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone's support. And remember, keep being awesome and read amazing books. Thanks for watching.